So we'll jump right into today's main topic, which is writing your admissions essay. And it's important to start with the question first of why is there an admissions essay to begin with? As Canadians, this is not something that historically you've been used to writing, although some Canadian universities are making essays more and more prominent in their process. I've heard that UBC is now asking for essays. There's more in some business programs. So there's more and more schools that are starting to add this as a requirement in Canada, but that's a fairly new thing. So somebody just tucked away my slides. Get those back up. Okay, it's going to take a second for the slides to open. Oh, there they are. Okay, so why an admissions essay? It's part of the holistic admissions process. So those of you who've been on presentations with me before, you've started to become very familiar with what it means to do holistic admissions. In the US, besides looking at things like your grades and your test scores, they also want to know more about you. And what's a better way to learn about you than for you to write a little bit about yourself? So this is very separate from kind of the more academic processes. Scores are academic. Letters from your teachers are about who you are academically, also as a person, but everything's really shaped around academics. This essay can be really about whatever you want it to be. And so it gives you the opportunity to really show more of who you are, your true colors, if you will. And admissions officers always say this is an opportunity to hear the student's voice. And so it's really something that you should be writing yourself, writing from the heart, not having someone else do for you, and really letting them know a bit about your personality and some of your strengths. It allows admissions to learn about your unique qualities and experiences. And not every university requires essays. And kind of a general rule of thumb is the less selective an institution is, they don't tend to require an essay. Say like a community college that has open admissions, they don't have an essay requirement. The more selective an institution is, not only will you need to do one personal essay, they tend to also require additional supplemental essays. So kind of the more selective the university, the more personal essays you can plan on writing. There are several different kinds of applications you may encounter. Now, these are three of the main ones that you might encounter. The common application has more than 650 members, so most students end up filling out the Common App for one or more of their schools. And their essay prompts, they have 7 of them, and the maximum word count is 650 words. The coalition application has more than 100 member schools, and a lot of them overlap with the Common App, but if you choose to complete the coalition app, they have 5 prompt choices, and they don't have, I don't think they have a word count cap necessarily, but they tell you you should aim for around 550 words. So a Common App essay of a cap of 650 would also, you could use a same essay in both applications. And the UC application, the University of California, they have a pretty different structure. They give 8 prompts, you pick 4 of them, and they each have 350 words each. There are other schools that have their own application processes and therefore have their own essays. MIT is a common one that students apply for, where they have their own application where you have to fill out 4 essays that are anywhere from 100 to about 300 words, somewhere in that range. And then when you write any supplemental essays on top of that, those are usually more university specific, like why do you want to come to this school? Why are you interested in the major that you might select? And it's an opportunity to talk more about your investment and interest in that specific institution. I've been asked if you should take notes. It's always a good idea to take notes, but this will be recorded so that you can review it again later if you'd like. And also, you don't need to copy down any of this information. I do suggest just copying down the website where you can find it. I'm not going to read through all of this, but this is to show you what the prompts are. So the Common Application prompts did not change from last year. The Common Application announces at the beginning of each calendar year whether or not their prompts will change for the upcoming application cycle. So in around February or so of this year, they let everyone know that when applications open August 1, the prompts aren't changing at all from the previous cycle. They've been the same for the last couple cycles. I think they're pretty happy with their questions right now. So when you read through them, I've gone ahead and highlighted a couple of the main things that these prompts are asking for: a background, identity, interest, or talent, a challenge, a setback, or a failure, a time you challenged a belief or idea, a problem you'd like to solve, a period of personal growth, a topic, idea, concept you find so engaging it makes you lose track of time, and and then the one that blows up all the prompts: share any topic, anything that you would like to write about. So because number 7 exists, you can actually write whatever you feel like writing about. So the other prompts are just there to help provide a little guidance as to what it is could make a strong essay, but you can actually write really whatever you want. When you look at the coalition application prompts, there's a lot of overlap. The first one is just telling a story from your life. The second is making time you made a meaningful contribution, challenging a belief, which is really the same as one of the Common App essays. Number 4 is a bit different. What's the hardest part about being a student? What's the best part? And then, of course, any topic you would like. So as you can see, the coalition and the Common App have a lot of overlap between their essay options. And if, let's say, you chose to write number 4 and then you also decided to do the Common App, you could submit it as well as an essay number 7, right? So again, you have a lot of options there. When it comes to the UC application, these are the 8 prompts. A lot of overlap between these prompts and the Common App and Coalition prompt. We've got time you faced a challenge, time you've contributed to your community, et cetera, and you only choose 4 of those prompts. I bring this one up because I work with a lot of students who apply to University of California, and this is a school where they've really created their own completely different, what they call personal insight questions. We will have a University of California school on later, UC San Diego. And so if you have more questions about the insight questions, I'm sure Maria from UC San Diego would be happy to answer those questions. So in summary, here's some of the themes that we see over and over again in the prompts: challenges, setbacks, solving a problem, period of growth, giving back to your community, a meaningful activity to you, like a hobby or just something that you're passionate about, your background, just generally where you're from, that your background could be anything, but that usually has a lot to do with the location you're from or your personal family history and background, a talent or skill, and then of course, just anything you want. So because there are actually a lot of options when you're writing your essay, it's really important not to start with choosing the prompt and then trying to write an essay for that prompt. And so in summary, don't choose the prompt, let the prompt choose you. Because through a brainstorming process that I'm going to describe now, I want you to really explore all of your options and think outside of the questions and think about things you might want to write about. And then as you narrow down what you want to write about, you might be surprised to see that one of the prompts would actually be a good structure for that. The prompts are really just that. They're structures. They're ways to help you shape your essay. So just like when you are writing an essay in school and you have a hypothesis and then you write a thesis, and the thesis is the answer to the question that helps you kind of shape where you're going. It's the same sort of thing, but in a less scientific or rigid manner, that these essay questions are helping you maybe kind of form a thesis, form a direction of where you want to go. So how do we brainstorm? I have some tips on doing this effectively. I want you to treat the brainstorming activity as something separate from schoolwork. I want you to set yourself up in a way that feels different from when you study. So if you usually study in your room or at the kitchen table or, wherever, a desk in an office, don't sit there. I don't want you to treat this like schoolwork. I want you to sit somewhere you never sit. I say preferably outside just because it's beautiful and it's summer, and, get outside, away from your computer, away from your devices. Bring colored pens with you, or a white, a small whiteboard, whatever it is that helps you be creative, something that will get you doing handwritten instead of typing. I want you to treat this more as a fun project rather than something that needs to be very focused. So if you can get away from that mentality, it'll help you start just, letting those creative juices flow. Make sure you give yourself at least an hour. So don't try to squeeze this in between activities or trying to, before you go somewhere else, and try to be uninterrupted. So let your family know you're going to be in the backyard or wherever, down at the park for like an hour, just sitting. And if they need you, they can find you there. And yeah, so try not to have your phone or other distractions with you. Whatever you write during this time is private. So I think sometimes when we start typing things on a computer, it feels really official. And when we handwrite things, it feels less so. And so you can treat this like journaling or something that, you can write whatever you want, and then you can crumple it up and throw it away, burn it if you want to. And so in that course, write down what I call the bad ideas as well. Everything you're not going to write about officially in a capacity you're submitting to admissions, everything that you brainstorm about. So just get it all out on paper, even the stuff you're probably not going to write about, so that it can kind of unblock what we can call the good ideas, or the things that you are more likely to write about. You can do this in any form you want. You can make word clouds. I'm sure some of you have probably brainstormed in school before. You can make timelines, word clouds, drawings if you're somebody who's more drawing and artistically bound. So have a nice time with this. Some questions to get started. Now this is the space where you'll want to maybe jot down a few notes. I do have a document with this information, so I can also share that with you afterwards, a little how-to brainstorm document. So I can give that all to you. Actually, what I'll do is I'll post it in the handout section. So when I finish talking, I'll upload this information in the handout section, and you'll be able to access it there. It might take me a few minutes because I think I have to get it off of a different drive, but I should be able to share that with all of you. Okay, so to get started in your brainstorm, these are some questions. You don't have to answer all of them. They don't have to be long form sentences. The brainstorm's for you. The structure is whatever you want to make of it. This is just to help you with what sort of things that you can be thinking about. What are you most proud of? What are some positive adjectives your friends would use to describe you? I really like this question because not everybody's good at giving themselves compliments, but your friends might be a lot better at it, right? So maybe you have a hard time describing yourselves, but how would your friends describe you? What are the nice things they would say about you? And if you're not sure, ask them. I have had students do that before. They're like, I don't know what they would say. And then they're kind of pleasantly surprised at some of the nice things their friends will say. What's an interesting thing about you that you don't tell many people? Some of the most interesting essays are about the things that are more kept to yourself, hobbies or activities that you like to do for your own enjoyment rather than something that's a more structured activity. Something you care deeply about, what you believe the most important things are about you. What's your guilty pleasure? So these are just some fun questions. And some of them are a little bit deeper to just try to get you started in thinking about these things. From there, you should also then reflect on the themes. Think about a time you solved a problem or a problem you'd like to solve, or some challenges or setbacks that you've overcome. All these different items. Some of them won't apply to you. Maybe you feel like the challenges or setbacks you've had are not, kind of major enough to write an entire essay about. That's fine. You don't have to have an answer for all these things. Again, this is brainstorming in a way to just start thinking about all these topics. And your background, it's really important for students to reflect a bit on your circumstance, your point of view, where you come from. I always find essays where students talk a little bit about where they're from way more interesting, because it gives a better sense of your place. Remember, where you're from is interesting. Even if you've lived there all your life and you're like, what do I want to say about this place? It's interesting, and you might even be the only person from that place who's applying to the university you're applying to, and the admissions officer would really love to know more about that. Begin writing, and this is the thing that this is my catchphrase when it comes to essay writing. The first draft is your worst draft. That's why it's the first draft. Okay, I know we can all start to feel a little bit scared about starting our draft, but we want to just jump in. So here we go. After you've brainstormed, search for patterns, reoccurring topics, circle some top things from your brainstorm that you know you want to convey in your essay. Try to find some stories that highlight your positive attributes. Avoid cliches and get real. And this goes to Ria's question, which is, what are some generic essay topics we should avoid? And that's a tough question to answer, because there's some topics that I go, ugh, don't write about that. And then a student will write about it in a way that's fresh and interesting and unique to them, and it works. So it's less about what topic you should avoid, because any topic can be a good topic. It's more about the cliches and the story arcs that you choose to write about. Avoid writing an essay that I can't tell who, by the time I'm done reading it, it could be any student. I've learned really nothing about who you are. And oftentimes students who write about the setback and challenge essay get caught in cliches. I find that's the one where I've seen it the most. The most common one is the time you lost the election, or the time that you messed up in some sort of performance, whether that's sports or arts or something like that. And the story arc goes, I thought I was ready, or I thought I was good. I messed up really badly. It felt terrible. And then I tried harder and I succeeded, or I overcame, or I learned this. And what happens is, if during that arc, all we learn is you failed and then you succeeded, or you failed and you learned from it, I can plug any student into that. And I didn't learn anything about you. Now, you can use that same arc and I can still learn something about you if you tell me details about yourself, if you tell me where you're from, if you tell me qualities about you, if you tell me other things that make it more personal. So that it's not essay topics necessarily, it's the way it's written that kind of removes you from the story. The more vulnerable you can be, the more real you can be, the more interesting your essay is. And that can take the shape of any topic that you would like it to be. So that's my little spiel on that. And this is, I'll say it more than once, but this is where I can really help. I'm very okay with giving feedback and telling people if something's working, or if something, maybe needs more work, or should be different. Show, don't tell. So you can say, when I say what are some positive attributes you have, you can tell me that you're a giving person. Well, how do I know that? It's a little more interesting if you show me by giving me a story. Show me a story, a time when you showed that quality. So examples and stories are very, very powerful. Listen to podcasts, listen to something like The Moth, and you can see, or even TED Talks, right? TED Talks are about a topic, but they always start with a really engaging story that kind of loops you in and actually teaches you more about the topic than if the person had just told you about it. So that's the kind of storytelling that you should be tapping into for these essays. And when it comes to your first draft, again, don't be afraid to start writing. The first draft, if it helps you, your first draft's going in the garbage. You're not submitting your first draft to anybody for as a final, right? You need to write this essay multiple times. It needs drafts to take shape and to get where it's going to go. So yes, your first draft is not going to be that good. That's absolutely fine. I love reading first drafts so that I can reflect with students on, is this the right topic for you? So here's a little more on first drafts. Explore your topic. Don't worry about word count. Don't worry about structure. Just start writing and seeing if where you're going is something that you want to continue writing about. Also, don't start with an introduction. Introductions usually should be, everybody has heard about the hook on the introduction, and hooks are not easy to write. And oftentimes you don't know what your hook is going to be until you've fleshed out your essay a little bit more. So I would suggest kind of skipping the intro and jumping right into your topic and what you want to write about. And that will also help you with the block of getting started. Intros are one of the hardest things to write, so you probably shouldn't start with it. And like I said, don't be afraid to share this draft with people to get opinions on your topic and direction. Nobody's going to look at a first draft as if it's the thing that you are submitting, or they shouldn't be. So submit the essay with people who are going to treat it like a first draft, which is something that I would do. Your essay structure itself. Now, your essay that you're writing is really different from essays that you write in school. So there's no predetermined structure, but when in doubt, the 5-paragraph structure works really great. Intro, 3 body paragraphs, conclusion, that's about 650 words. You can definitely stick to that if you want to. You can also write something a little more if you're putting in dialogue, then it's going to look a little more like a creative essay. You can definitely do that if you want, but don't feel like you have to write something creative and outside of the box. The 5-paragraph structure works just fine. It's a personal essay, so absolutely be writing in the first person. This is about you. Tone should be less formal than an essay for school, but you also should be using, writing skills and grammar. It shouldn't be so informal that it looks like a text message. You should be using punctuation. And so it's okay if writing isn't your strongest suit, but it should be a polished essay. So even if everybody's language is going to vary a bit, and that's totally fine, but you should still have correct grammar, sentence structure, and things like that. That's why multiple drafts and having more than one person look over it is important. So some of those people you can reach out to help you are your English teacher, a guidance counselor, potentially your parents or friends, any other trustworthy adults in your life. I say that because not every adult is someone you want to give you essay feedback. But if you have adults in your life that are strong writers or are teachers or educators or are good at this kind of thing, then absolutely share it with whoever you'd like to get their feedback. And of course, you can share it with me. And I'm very happy to work with you on your essay.